Bottom line here is we're not too impressive. They weren't then and we aren't now. The majority of believers have always been unremarkable. They have always been unimpressive to the world, especially the world of elite minds who treat us with contempt.
For consider your calling, brothers and sisters, that there were not many wise according to the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. And God has chosen the weak things of the world to shame the things which are strong. And the insignificant things of the world and the despised God has chosen, the things that are not, so that he may nullify the things that are, so that no human may boast before God. But it is due to him that you are in Christ Jesus, who became to us wisdom from God and righteousness and sanctification and redemption, so that just as it is written, let one who boasts, boast in the Lord. In the world's eyes, those who are intelligent, witty, and well-educated, and of eloquent speech rise to the top. These self-made human traits are the most sought after by the people of the world. Societies define these traits as being found among the elite and the most powerful people in the world. The world tells you that these are the traits you need to strive for in order to be successful. These people are the ones who set the standards, they run the economy, and they also determine who succeeds and who fails. Paul proclaimed the message of the cross. His message of foolishness to the worldly did not gain traction due to the weakness of the message. As Paul mentions in verses 18 through 25, how the message of the cross was foolishness to those who are perishing, and that it was the foolishness of that message that actually saves, and God makes the world's wisdom foolish. The foolish things that are only foolish to those who are actually real fools. Paul turns now to verses 26 to 31 in this continuation of God's choice of the foolish. 3 times this passage tells us that God chose. Verse 27, God chose what the world regards as foolish to shame the wise. Again in verse 27, God chose what the world regards as weak in order to shame the strong. In verse 28, God chose what is insignificant and what is despised, the things that are nothing, in order that he might nullify the things that are. Our world is filled with the love of wisdom, philosophy, phila and sophia, compound word, the love of wisdom. In Corinth, the practice of shaming and dishonoring was commonplace. The worst thing for someone was to have their name or reputation tarnished. Let's hear how John MacArthur describes this.
That, by the way, that last statement that Paul uses, the things that are not, in verse 28, is the most contemptible expression in the Greek language to demean another person, to treat them as if they did not even exist.
This is true in our day as well. The social climate within our own country is following the same suit. As to shame others and to elevate themselves to a higher level of intelligence in the case that if someone disagrees with their ideology. Although all these things were true about the world, but God chose the foolish things, not to shame the world, but to nullify human boasting. See this term here, flesh? It is specifically used here to drive home the point that all humanity is being spoken of here. The picture Paul is trying to paint here is that all human flesh is frail and will wither away like grass. What can man boast about in the presence of God? As Paul closes this first chapter, we see that in this last verse we have this imperative verb. It is a command, it's an action that we need to carry out. This is not just a recommendation, this is a command and an order. Paul is using the same language found in Jeremiah 9:24. As the prophet writes what the Lord had said to him, but let him who boasts, boast of this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord, who exercises loving kindness, justice, righteousness on earth, for I delight in these things, declares the Lord. The term we're looking at here is boast. This is the imperative, and this is what we must do, boast in the Lord. Why is God given this command to his children? We do not fit the categories of the wise, the influential, and those of noble birth, but we fit in God's kingdom, all by the saving power of the gospel, the foolish message of the cross. And Christ became for us the wisdom from God. Paul makes it very clear using these three terms that we see here: righteousness, sanctification, redemption. These three terms are not in harmony with the world's wisdom, but rather denote aspects of the wisdom which believers found only in Christ, in whom they are justified, they are sanctified, and they are redeemed. Believers have these things because their union with Christ. And believers are in union with Christ because of God. It is because of him that you are in Christ Jesus. We have to remember that in everything we are blessed with, we owe it all to God. And that every very being of our existence as people of God is predicated on the activity of God in and through Christ. There are grounds for boasting, of course, but as believers, followers of Christ, our only boast is in Christ's redemptive work. So let him who boasts, boast in the Lord.